I have to admit that this is not a normal instructional video. I'm not an expert vocal guy or bassoon maker, and nor will I tell you that you should follow my process if and when you look for a new vocal of your own. What I'm doing here is letting you in behind the curtain, so to say, and show you my process. It might not be the best way. Maybe you are an expert watching now and might soon be shouting while throwing your popcorn at the screen, but this bassoon, like my Eichentopf and my Grenzer, is my voice. And finding a new, better vocal is personal, and I had to do this the only way I knew how. So, are you ready for this? It's morphin' time! Brontosaurus!
Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Go, go, Power Rangers! Mighty Morphin Power Rangers!
By now, you know that I'm not a full-time Heckel bassoon player. This coming April, I'll have been playing the bassoon for 20 years, and I'll have owned my Heckel here for 14 of those years. I did a bachelor's degree in Canada on modern, but also a sort of double major in historical bassoon. Since moving to Basel in 2012, I've had regular but periodic experience playing this Heckel, mainly due to the nature of my specialization. Since we've established my use of the instrument, you'll understand that it might not have been a priority for me to soup up my Heckel any further than it already had been, especially given the fact that, for me, there is always another historical bassoon out there to buy. My Heckel is a late 5000 series made in 1922. I bought it in 2007 after it was completely refurbished, and it came with two vocals, stamped Marcus and Bell. While I knew from the moment I got the bassoon that there would probably be a better vocal out there for it, being a bachelor student, it wasn't really a priority for me. I was of the belief that basically any Heckel with a serial number below 6000 was somehow not pro, and that there were going to be elements to the instrument which were, let's say, characteristic that I would have to overcome. In recent months, I've been given an opportunity to really dig in once again to the Heckel. Furthermore, given my proximity to Germany and the fact that I've been very fortunate in my career to be able to afford it, I decided I would do a bassoon vocal trial with Heckel. As you can see by the document on their vocals linked below, Heckel makes a huge variety of vocals in lengths, materials, bores, and platings. When going through it myself, it became clear that it would probably be best to try a VC or VCC bore, given that it is made for earlier instruments, and at the number 2 length, since I want to play at 440. When it came to materials, I felt that the absolute standard silver-plated German silver version would probably be the best place to start, but I was also curious about a gold-plated gold brass vocal. So I called up Heckel, and they agreed with me that the VC or VCC2 would be what I should be trialing. I could try up to 8 vocals at a time, and that was basically it. I made clear what I wanted to try by email, and the vocals were sent the next day. What I got were 3 VCC2Ns made of German2 and silver-plated, 3 VCC2N XLs made of German silver and silver-plated, and 2 VC2Gs made of gold brass and gold-plated. I was hoping to get 2 of the gold brass version with VXL variation, but they weren't in stock at the time. Now here's the process that I went through to narrow down which vocals I liked and which I didn't. I have a small list of issues with my instrument which I was hoping could be corrected by the vocal. Those include having a more stable and centered low D, a centered D above middle C. The area around the F sharp below middle C could be more homogeneous in the sound, and the high B flat, high B, high C could be a bit less bright. Firstly, I played extensively on the old vocal, and then I tried every vocal with my best read, making general remarks, very general remarks. The main priority was quality and homogeneity of sound. Was there an improvement? Do the notes which had very little core to the sound gain stability? How homogeneous is that F-sharp area, and is the high register a bit less bright? Surprisingly, I eliminated 2 vocals very quickly from the list, within 15-20 minutes. The next step was to really look at the problem notes on my bassoon in depth. Here I set the tuner to a drone on the note in question, put my headphones on, and attacked those notes with every vocal. What surprised me was that pretty much each of the 6 vocals left corrected the uncentered D above middle C, but the low D was still problematic on 3 of those vocals. In the end, 3 vocals basically solved the technical issues I had, one of them being a VCC2N, a VCC2N XL, and a VC2G. Up to this point, this experiment had taken about 3 hours. After that, I decided that I should really work on something a bit technically challenging to test the vocals, so I decided to work on the first caprice in Carl Jacobi's Opus 6. After a general warm-up, I would spend about an hour with each vocal on this movement, or at least that's what I had planned. There is a 2-bar progression very early in this piece which is quite hard to pull off with a beautiful sound on the high C. Partly this is a mental thing. You see the low C coming immediately after it and clench a bit knowing that you have to make a fast transition. And partly this is a problem of our modern instrument. Using a bassoon of the era of this piece, the bar is much easier to execute. In any case, executing this bar with a nice sound quality on the high C was slightly easier to pull off on 2 of those vocals. By now, what began as 8 vocals was narrowed down to 2, the VCC2NXL and the VC2G. At this point, it was time to call in the cavalry. I met bassoonist Letizia Viola at her studio at the Schola Cantorum Basiliensis one evening and did a blind test for her of 3 vocals. Firstly, both she and I played for each other on the vocal that I have been using on this instrument for years. I told her about the few things that I found challenging about the instrument, which maybe could be corrected by a better vocal. Once that was finished, over the course of about 10 minutes, I played some scales using the final 2 vocals, plus another one in the series which I knew I wouldn't pick, but was still a decent match. Letizia was listening for overall intonation, that the instrument was in tune with itself, not necessarily spot on 440, and, most importantly, for sound quality. After only a short time listening to all 3 vocals, she picked the one I was pretty sure I was going to take, the VCC2NXL. It was great to hear that my own analysis was confirmed almost immediately, and she was very surprised it didn't take so long. In fact, she was gearing up for more than an hour of testing and then an argument over which one was better. Ultimately, it came down to materials and the tenor register. Letizia felt that the gold brass vocal gave the instrument a more blending sound, and one which, though it could be very useful in chamber music and other settings, wasn't ideal as a standard vocal, especially if I was going to be playing auditions with whatever I bought. She also felt that there was a particularly singing quality and that I had more flexibility to express in the tenor register when I played on the VCC2NXL. That was very special. After testing the vocals on my instrument herself, she was convinced that this VCC2NXL was the best of the 3. After a visit of only 30 to 40 minutes, I knew that I had successfully completed my trial. Not only did I feel that coming to see a colleague was important as a second pair of ears, but when your own observations are confirmed by a player whom you respect, then, in my humble opinion, there isn't much more work that needs to be done, apart from sending the other vocals back and paying the bill, of course. I'm someone who is quite consequent about my decisions. At a certain point, I feel one will only produce their best work by putting in the practice time and learning how to use the tools available. While, of course, it is important to have the best tools at your disposal, once you get to a certain level of equipment, it becomes much more a matter of adapting oneself to the setup rather than the other way around. In pretty much every aspect of my musical career, I've often taken decisions which some more perfectionist types might think of as rather arbitrary. In a recording, for example, if I think the quality of playing in 2 takes are the same, then why should I fret about which take we use? I just go with my gut. The same was the case about this vocal trial. If Letizia agreed with me that this VCC2XL was the best vocal, then what would continuing the trial bring? More stress in taking a decision, most likely. In any case, it's a really nice match with my instrument. Again, this was simply how I went about finding a new vocal, and I don't put this out there as a guide for you to follow necessarily. I hope that this video was helpful to you in some way, and thanks for watching, and take it easy. Bye-bye.